the prevent money has been given him £300,000 yearly, and when they stopped it, he was crying and he was complaining, not crying literally, but that's what they say according to the articles in the newspaper.
No, BBC, BBC, BBC,
BBC,
He seems he was complaining, okay? So my brother Muhammad, how come you haven't not that investigation on him? I don't know, but I'm showing the double standard, okay? I don't know, but I'm showing the double standard, okay?
One more thing, sir.
£300,000 yearly. Where's the money gone, bro?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I don't know, but I'm showing the double standard, okay?
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real. You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real. You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
One more thing, sir.
Big job now for you, Detective Colombo. Guess what? Subhanallah, how Allah quickly exposes this person. He will do anything to save himself. Even he will fall into clear-cut contradiction.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Look, والعياذ بالله. أين تقوى الله? Where is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're doing? You da'wah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Islam based upon justice and truthfulness and honesty. And Allah gave me my right to defend myself. If someone oppressed me, accuse me of something, slandering me, I'm allowed to defend myself. Brothers keep saying, Akhi, he's a Muslim brother. Islam teach us. And some Muslims said, the non-Muslims, the Christian missionaries, they will be happy. Rather, this video is a proof against them that Islam teach the Muslim justice, even to speak against their own brothers. That's again what show us the justice of Islam.
No, BBC, BBC, BBC,
Shamsi is arrogant. No, I'm not arrogant, alhamdulillah. But Shamsi is arrogant. No, I'm not arrogant, alhamdulillah. But is with the Salaf with the Khariji Takfiri.
Abdul Haq Baker, you kafir, murtad, spy. May your whole family be imprisoned for how many Muslims you imprisoned. You sit with this man, you sit with this kafir, this Hadiullah.
And this video, this is not my way. Is with the Salaf. You can't be Salafi. He's bringing anyone against Babs. Anyone. Even if himself differ with him. So he brought this brother, Abu Khadeejite. Abu Khadeejite, he brought him. Guess what? Abu Khadeejite, even this Takfiri guy online, he said something funny. He said Abu Khadeejite is a prevent money before prevent came to existence. He himself is a prevent. But he said other things which I don't agree with him is batil. It's called the person kafir, billah. I don't agree with that at all. But Muhammad Hijab, my brother, Allah bless you and give you tawfiq. You seem like you become Detective Colombo. But you had another person with you and you promote him in your channel. He's been taken, or the prevent money has been given him £300,000 yearly. And when they stopped it, he was crying. And he was complaining, not crying literally, but that's what they say according to the articles in the newspaper. He seems, he was complaining, okay? So my brother Muhammad, how come you haven't not that investigation on him? Do you know why, my brothers and sisters? Because he's not sparse.
So now the brother, he's claiming that he made a couple of claims for somebody who doesn't understand like me, right? It seems that prevent money was used as a proxy to basically spy on Muslims. This is what I'm getting from him, right? That's the first thing, right? The second thing is that that he claims that you were complaining about not receiving prevent money. And he showed some newspaper article or something like that, right? So where you said, why the government is not sending you any more prevent money, right? So how do you answer those claims? What's your answer to that?
These are it's very interesting. First and foremost, the sources of reference are a rabid takfiri, okay?
You are sitting with a piece of dirt, scum of the earth, kafir, murtad. This man is such an evil kafir. Abdul Haq Baker, you kafir, murtad, spy. May your whole family be imprisoned for how many Muslims you imprisoned. You sit with this man, you sit with this kafir, this Hadiullah. May the curse of Allah be on you, you kafir.
As a source of information on the one hand, and also the media on the other hand.
No, BBC. BBC. BBC.
BBC. So first and foremost, I think I've mentioned beforehand, Prevent Mark 1 from 2007, and the finances that were available then, they were engaging in community partnership and engagement. However, and this is where I agree with everyone, and that's why I write about it now, post 2011, Prevent took a change whereby the police wanted to influence a top-down approach. They didn't like the community engagement approach. They didn't like the autonomy that organizations like mine had in deciding how we wanted to work, okay? So post 2011, when the police started changing the channel program, which is associated with Prevent, they started saying to communities that in order to work with the government, you had to provide intelligence. And yes, I agree with the observations there, because that's one of the reasons why we pulled back and the resistance was there to when they said they cannot work with us and stop the funding, is because we disagreed with the change in legislation and the forcing upon communities, bullying communities into saying, you have to provide intelligence, you have to give data, and the criteria was right down to children. So where he says the reports are saying that I complained about funding, no, I made it very, very clear why they were stopping funding with us. And they said it's because they held us to be non-violent extremists. That wasn't their official line. They said not value for money and the like. But what we knew and what we wanted them to highlight is the reality is that they were uncomfortable with the autonomy organizations like Street, and it was only Street in that instance. I don't know many other organizations that had that type of autonomy and robustness in saying, we will not give you intelligence, we will not inform, we will not spy. Even when there was some heavy criminality taking place, we would not report, because that's not our remit, never has been our remit. You might say, well, okay, so why did they fund you? They funded us because they couldn't reach a target audience that we have always been successful in engaging with, okay? And when we continued engaging with them, that was, they had the justification to say that this is an area we cannot deal with. And while we don't like in their entirety what this organization's doing, they've been doing this for years. They've got the skills, they've got the human resources to do it. And Bilal, I want to mention one thing. You've got this Shams, you've got the Takfiris and the cult mentioning this. If you see who our target audience were and those who came out and engaged and worked with us, these individuals would run a mile when they see the backgrounds of these people. And the first people who would have turned against us if the allegations they're making was true, and not just turn against us with, oh, we're going to speak against Street, or we're going to go on the internet, because these are not internet individuals. These are people of action. Some people would not be around now, including myself, if the allegations they're making are true. That's a key thing people don't seem to address, and they need to address. Our target audience,
what you're basically
everyone knows Brixton.
is that the people that you're working with had some legitimate street credentials. We'll say it like that.
Let's say more than street credentials. These individuals won't be seen sitting on a park in broad daylight with these individuals because of their credentials. And the fact that some of them have come on record and said it, the fact we saw you, Abdul Haq, engaging with our own, the fact we saw that you were protecting us from the authorities, okay, they wouldn't be touched once they'd come out of prison, once they were engaging. And let's be clear, we weren't dealing with a whole catchment of radicalized individuals. No, you'd have a very small 0.1 that might have radical views. That wouldn't go anywhere, because for the last 20 odd years, we've been engaging with radical views. We were comfortable in that space. And that's why we were successful doing what we were doing. But as government was changing, and you had the liberal Muslims like Quilliam and others becoming uncomfortable and really denigrating our work, this is why there was that shift away from us. And there was no complaint. I'll be honest with you. I think that what my team and what my colleagues saw, and I've always advised them on, there will be a sea change at some point, because people can't work with us at this grassroots level in the nitty gritty of what we are doing. So funding is not guaranteed forever and continuously, and you all need to hone your skills. They were given training to be able to go out into the professional environment, the professional market, which some of them did. Some of them, I sponsored them getting their degrees. Others, we sponsored them with training to go out and work professionally, and they went out and did that. That's what we did with the finances that we had. We had activities, we had our center, all of that's documented. We were evaluated by an independent evaluation team that came back to us after funding had been stopped. They'd evaluated us 3 times. We were the most successful because of how robust our financial mechanisms were, how robust our activities were, and the professionalism with which we worked. And Bilal, I'll cite and call you to testify at this point. You've worked for me, so you know my work ethic.
I will come out openly, and I told you this already in private, right? And I'm gonna say this, that out of all the people I've met in Saudi, you are absolutely, and I'm not saying this to break your back or anything like that, but you are absolutely the most professional person I've ever worked with or for, right? In Saudi Arabia. And probably in my life. I won't lie, right? And the reason why I mentioned that, because, you know, we're both Black, and of course, you know, there's that pride, of course, being Muslim, of course, you know, but, you know, from coming from a Black background, and how, you know, Black people are seen as being, you know, social degenerates and what, you know, how the stereotypes that we get as Black folk, right? Yes. So it was something of pride and honor to let you know that, and to say that.
No, Jazakallah khair, Bilal. I appreciate that, and may Allah bless you for revealing that and sharing that with me. And I want to hasten answer that second point again, that Abdul Haq Baker was complaining it's in the newspapers. Let me ask you this question. If I was complaining, and why have we lost funding, why is it that the head of the Prevent Funding, OSCT, I'm going to name him, he's passed away earlier this year or late last year, Charles Farr, why did he contact me twice asking when I'd be back in the UK? And on both occasions, I went to him. This is when funding was stopped. And I asked him, what is it you want? And he said, we really didn't want this project to stop. Is there anything I can do to help you? I said, we don't need help. We are going to continue working with or without funds, okay? And the second time he called me, I thought, what does he want to tell me now? It was the same thing, because they saw that there was no other entity that worked in the manner that we worked in, okay? So Bilal, if I was complaining, we would not have been called twice by the head of OSCT, Office for Security and Counterterrorism, which is within the Home Office that provided the Prevent funding. Secondly, I was receiving Prevent money before Prevent existed. Bilal, this is one thing the Takfiris have said with Abdullah and Faisal since the 90s, before any funding or anything was there. they'd always say the Saudis, the Salafi Saudis, in the pocket of the Saudis, we're getting funded from the Saudis. You'd have the Sufis and others and non-Muslim academics saying Saudi funding has funded the Wahhabi and Salafi mosque and everything. I'll tell you now, as the one who purchased Brixton Mosque and know where the source of funding came from a very generous charity. Brixton, for as long as I was at Brixton, at the helm, has never received a penny from Saudi funding. Now, let me move to Prevent now. Up until that funding that was taking place there to facilitate me employing some of these individuals from the street to engage with their own, to do activities, to rent the premises, we've not received government or any other financing from elsewhere. And I would say this now to Shamsi. I don't know him. He's a young man. I don't know anything about him, but I know he's a puppet of Abu Khadeejite. So I'll direct this to the Abu Khadeejite leader himself and the milk sheikh. Bring a single piece of evidence of misappropriation of funds that we or I, me personally, at the helm of Brixton, has ever done. Unlike what we see with regards to themselves. And remember this, Bilal. Abu Hakim received Prevent funding. Inner city guidance, not just the 10,000 that is there in the newspapers, because he was getting the same source of funding from the OSCT government that was funding some of the other entities. I know that because they came and asked me about to give a reference for Abu Hakim and his organization. And you know what? We have to be just in this, because the hatred between people is such that it blinds them from telling the truth. And one of the younger individuals who worked with Bilal and saw me give this reference was surprised that I gave it. I gave reference to say, I don't agree with this group and what they're about, but they are very effective in countering extremism. So Abu Hakim has been involved in countering radicalization the same way we have been in the 90s. And inner city guidance, if he's leading that and he's got a team doing what I know they do best, they're a very effective organization. So they said, would you say we should fund them? This is when I said, I would not have any objection to you funding them in this remit. That's the taskiya that I gave for inner city guidance of Abu Hakim Bilal Davis. Now, let me ask you this question. Do they show such justice? No, because of the hatred that is actually there amongst them, the partisanship, the cultism. And this is why you've got Shams coming out and embarrassing himself, just spewing nonsense, because he wants to show, just like Abdullah used to do. He wanted to get brownie points with the leaders to show that he's worthy of belonging. So let's be clear. I'll be clear, because I want to be clear about Prevent. As Prevent stands now, that funding, it's toxic. It's changed from 2006, 2007, up to 2011. 2011 was the time when they did a review with Lord Carlisle. And they changed the shape of the funding. And that's why you've got the individuals there now. If you look at the individuals and the groups and the entities that are taking funding now, they have little or no credibility amongst the people they've been sent in to go and so-called de-radicalize. And actually, the people that they're sending them into are not radical in the first place. Just like when we were working, we won't say, oh, like some organizations I won't mention, we've de-radicalized. No. We won't go and talk like that, because the majority of the individuals we engage with were from our communities, and they were from the road, they were from the streets and everything. Some may have been vulnerable to elements of the Faisal Dawa, Abu Qatada, Abu Hamza Dawa, and we engage with them effectively. But now we had
to, sorry to cut you. This brings me to a couple of other points, because you mentioned Abu Hamza, Abu Qatada.
Yes.
It's been mentioned by another brother, some Takfiri brother, that, and I believe Shamsi, he alluded to it in the same video. So that you had snitched on Abu Hamza and Abu Qatada and other Muslims while using the Prevent money, right? They call you a snitch, bro. So are you a snitch or what?
You know what? This is one of the things that they've been calling us for a long time.
One more thing, sir.
Guess what? Subhanallah. How Allah quickly exposes this person. Boom. Boom. Look, والعياذ بالله. أين تقوى الله? Where is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're doing? You da'wah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will do anything to save himself. Even he will fall into clear cut contradiction.